Streetlights flicker like tired kings. Midnight leans against the glass. Concrete hums in low brass tones. Footsteps measured, let them pass. Breath steady, pulse restrained. No announcement, no parade. Presence felt before its name. Power does not serenade. No raised voice, no display. Weight is carried, not portrayed. Silence is the crown. Silence is the crown. Noise is for the restless. Silence is the crown. Cold wind cuts but leaves no scars. Steel is shaped in hidden flame. Rooms grow still when calm walks in. Respect arise before the name. Eyes observe but never chase. Patience sharp as winter air. When a man has built his ground, he does not declare. No quick moves, no demand. Ground is taken. Where you stand, silence is the crown. Silence is the crown. Power needs no witness. Silence is the crown. History favors steady hands, not the loud or uncontrolled. Legacy is quiet work, etched in discipline and code. Echo fades from empty books, time unmasks the shallow sound. When the storm has lost its breath, stillness holds the ground. Silence is the crown. Silence is the crown. Calm above the chaos. Silence is the crown. Morning breaks without applause. Cold water on the skin. Mirrors show no fantasy, only where to begin. Habits carved in granite hours. No excuse survives. Comfort is a borrowed chair. Discipline decides. Pressure shapes. Fire refines. Weakness bends. Iron aligns. Iron in the veins. Iron in the veins. Feelings don't command me. Iron in the veins. Voices tempt with softer road. Shortcuts dressed as gold. Strength is built in repetition. Quiet control, no applause for daily grind. No witness to the cost, but mountains move for those who never once are lost. No reaction, no complaint. Focus steady, edges faint. Iron in the veins. Iron veins. But sealed in vaults, emotion under rain. Rage is cheap and burns too fast. Steel survives the flame. Time respects the tempered will, not the loud refrains built from pressure, shaped by fire. Iron in the veins. Between the words a man chooses and the words he leaves behind lives the most important version of the thing inside his mind. Not every truth deserves the air, not every thought the tongue. Some things carry more by staying in the chest where they belong. I have watched men empty themselves into every room they enter, spending every observation, every wound, every splinter. And what they gain in volume, they surrender in command. The full man and the empty man, you know them where they stand. Because the man who holds his counsel in a world that talks too much has a kind of gravity the talking man can never touch. He doesn't need the room to carry what he knows. The knowing is sufficient, that is all the knowing knows. And I don't offer what was never asked of me to give. The unspoken is the architecture of the life I live. The heaviest things a man carries are the things he never said. Not from fear, from the understanding that some truths are better kept instead. There is a discipline in holding what the moment wants released, in feeling the full pressure of a truth and letting it decrease. Not suppression, calibration, not weakness measured grace. The art of knowing what belongs in the room and what needs space. I have held back words that would have won the argument outright. Let the other side believe they'd carried the night. 'Cause winning small is losing large in the economy of respect. And the man who always wins the moment loses what comes next. So I sit across from challenge with the patience I have earned. I let the room reveal itself before I show what I have learned. And by the time I speak, if speaking comes at all, the room is already shifted. I just confirm the fall. And I don't offer what was never asked of me to give. The unspoken is the architecture of the life I live. The heaviest things a man carries are the things he never said. Not from fear, from the understanding that some truths are better kept instead. Language is the surface, what lives beneath the language. The pause before the answer, the breath held after the question. That is where the real conversation happens. Learn to speak that language, it requires the unspoken feels less like restraint and more like open land. A territory the talking man will never understand, where observation is the currency and patience is the key. And the man who holds the most is the one who moves most free. I have built a life on what I chose to leave unsaid, on the rooms I read correctly and the exits I have left, on the understanding that my silence is a statement in itself, that what I don't confirm or deny stays safely on the shelf. So when you look for what I'm thinking in the stillness of my face, no, you're looking at the surface of a very different place. The weight of the unspoken is the weight I chose to bear, and it has never made me less. It makes me what I am from there. The heaviest things a man carries are the things he never said, not from fear, from the understanding that some truths are better kept instead. Better kept instead. Better kept instead. Kept instead. Carries the unspoken. Better kept instead. There is a man who feels the full weight of every passing thing, who carries every season in the silence that they bring, who has stood at the edge of what the feeling would become, and chosen in that moment to remain precisely numb. Not numb in the hollow sense, numb in the discipline, the difference between drowning and the man who learned to swim, between the tide that takes you and the one you learn to read, between the feeling and the feeding of a feeling into need. I have felt things that would move a room to recognition, held them in the chest like stones in quiet submission, not from shame, from the understanding that the feeling is for me, not performance, not confession, just the private cost of free. And I don't wear my weather on the outside of my face. What moves inside stays inside. That is called holding space. Still water doesn't tell you what is moving underneath. Neither does the man who learned to feel without the need to speak. They read the surface and called it stone, called it cold, called it removed. Let them keep the reading, I was never asking to be proved. Because the man who needs his feeling witnessed by a crowd is handed something private to whatever is the loud. And I've seen what happens when emotion needs the open air, without the discipline and timing, without the measured care. It becomes the story, the definition, the production of a life into the single moment when the feeling overcame the strife. I refuse to be that moment, I refuse to be the red. The feeling is the root of me, not the thing I bleed. It feeds the work, it sharpens the perception, keeps me true, but it answers only to me, not to the room, and not to you. And I don't wear my weather on the outside of my face. What moves inside stays inside. That is called holding space. Still water doesn't tell you what is moving underneath. Neither does the man who learned to feel without the need to speak. There is a difference between a man with no feeling and a man who holds his feeling with both hands. The first is empty, the second is the most full room in any building. Know the difference before you call the still man cold. Now the feeling and the holding are the same act in my hands. I don't separate them anymore the way I once had planned. What I feel informs the doing. Quiet fuel inside the frame, never leak, never renounced, always burning, just the same. And what comes out is not the feeling, it is what the feeling made. The decision, the direction, the deliberate choice of blade. The calm that looks like coldness from the outside of the room. The warmth that built the coldness, never visible, never in bloom. So if you watch me and concluded I was running dry, know the deepest rivers make the least noise passing by. What moves in me is moving, has always been in motion. Still water running deep, with all the force of an ocean. Still water doesn't tell you what is moving underneath. Neither does the man who learned to feel without the need to speak. Without the need to speak. Without the need. Still running deep. Without the need to speak. Empty room, ticking clock, blueprints under dust. Work completed in the dark, driven not by trust. Praise is wind, it comes and goes, roots grow underground. Foundations do not seek applause, they simply hold the ground. No spotlight, no stage, time records, each page. No witness needed. No witness needed. Legacy stands undefeated. No witness needed. Cameras chase the loudest spark. History keeps the flame. Glory fades from fragile hands, but craft outlives the name. Quiet ink on silent stone, years will understand. Those who built without a crowd shape the land. No witness needed. No witness needed. Truth does not get pleaded. No witness needed. Footprints fade from passing trends, depth remains in place. Validation is a mirror, legacy is base. When the noise dissolves to dust, what was real succeeded. Work completed, name unspoken, no witness needed. long table of a life, there are the few worth naming. Not the ones who came for comfort, or the ones who came for claiming. The ones who stayed when staying cost them something of their own. Who showed up in the difficult and called the difficulty home. These men are not the loudest at the table or the first. They are not the ones who appear when things are at their worst, to offer what is easy, the condolence and the word. But the ones who were already there before the difficulty stirred. I have counted mine on fewer fingers than a man might think, and stood with them in more than one uncomfortable brink. And what I found at every edge was this, and only this: the long table has no room for those who calculate the risk. And I don't keep the ones who keep accounts of what they've given. The table I sit at is for those for whom the giving is the living. The long table is not built for everyone who owns a chair. It's built for those who earn the seat by simply being there. There was a season when I opened every door to every man, when the circle was a crowd and the crowd felt like a plan, when the number at the table felt like evidence of worth, when presence was confused with value from the first. And the season taught me slowly what the crowd could not provide, that most were at the table for the warmth and not the ride. That when the warmth diminished and the hard light came instead, the chairs emptied quietly and the table had less bread. But the few who kept the places in the cold and the exposed, who didn't need the warmth to justify the thing they chose, those few became the table, those few became the room. And everything I built since has been built with them as the flume. And I don't keep the ones who keep accounts of what they've given. The table I sit at is for those for whom the giving is the living. The long table is not built for everyone who wants a chair. It's built for those who earn the seat by simply being there. Brotherhood is not declared, it is demonstrated in the small acts, in the showing up without being called, in the holding of the line when the line has nothing left to offer. But the holding, those men, count them, keep them, there are very few. Now the table is exact the way a craftsman's measure is exact. Every chair accounted for every absence, a known fact. And I don't grieve the empty chairs the way I used to do. I fill the space with the quality of the permanent and true. What sits around that table is the realest thing I own, not property, a title, or the things I built alone. A man who know the version of me nobody else has seen, who hold the unpolished chapters and keep the pages clean. So when the world asks what I built and where my legacy will stand, I point to the long table and the fuel lent to hand. Not the monuments, not the output, not the record or the name, just the table and the fuel and the fact that they stay just the same. The long table is not built for everyone who wants a chair. It's built for those who earn the seat by simply being there. By simply being there. By simply being there. Earn the seat, get the seat by simply being there. breaks without permission. Shadows still on the wall. Battles rarely make a sound before the empires fall. Mirrors tell the hardest truths. No audience, no cheer. Conquest starts in discipline, not in conquering fear. Calm breath, steady gaze. Storms settle under rain. The war was decided within. The war was decided within. Before the first move was made, the war was decided within. Noise outside can shake the glass, never shakes the core. Victory is a silent shift behind a closed door. Temptation speaks in urgent tones, rushes toward the flame, but control redraws the map, and patience wins the game. No reaction, no defense. Ground is held in stillness. The war was decided within. The war was decided within. No medal proves the outcome. The war was decided within. History recalls the crowns, rarely names the nights where doubt was faced alone, without an audience or light. Strength is born where no one sees, forged beneath the skin. By the time the world takes note, the war was decided within. The war was decided within. Before the world called it victory, the war was decided within. Old wood floors remember steps before the sun was grown. Lessons carved in quiet rooms, and voices made of stone. Reputation moves ahead long before arrival. Character is slow, built steel, not designed for survival. No slogans, no claims. Bloodline measured in actions, not names. A name is carried, not spoken. A name is carried, not spoken. Respect is never demanded. A name is carried, not spoken. Every choice adds subtle weight to letters etched in time. when truth walks in. Posture straight, eyes open. Legacy is silent proof. Her name is carried, not spoken. Stand firm, move straight. History does not wait. Her name is carried, not spoken. Her name is carried, not spoken. Pride is shown in conduct. Her name is carried, not spoken. Children learn from what is done, not from what is said. Standards set in quiet acts, long after words are dead. When the dust has left the frame and titles fade unbroken, only one thing still remains. A name is carried, not spoken. A name is carried, not spoken. A name is carried, not spoken. No echo needs announcing. A name is carried, not spoken. When a river cuts through stone, never loud or wild, current steady, deeply set. Ancient, undenied, storms may shake the surface line. Ice may form above, but depth remains untouched by noise. Guided not by shove, no drift, no sway. Course chosen, stays. The river stays its course. The river stays its course. Pressure shapes the edges. The river stays its course. Crowds can change like shifting sand, chasing warmer ground. Principles are cold as steel, firm without a sound. Tempted by the easy turn, short roads lined with force. Still the quiet current knows. The river stays its course. Calm flow, deep line. Time bends not the spine. The river stays its course. The river stays its course. No season breaks its order. The river stays its course. Bow to patient flow, not to sudden rage. Endurance writes its legacy across a hardened age. When the noise dissolves in air and trends lose knows their source. Stone remembers what endured. The river stays its course. The river stays its course. Cold, steady, certain. The river stays its course.
The planners don't debate the pull that keeps them in their lane. The tide doesn't require permission to arrive and leave again. And the man who has developed the particular kind of way that bends the room around him, he doesn't articulate. He moves and things adjust. He speaks and spaces shift. Not from volume, from the accumulation and the gift of years spent building something that the surface doesn't show. Something underneath the posture that the patient come to know. I have been in rooms with men of title and a name, in rooms with men of substance, and they are not the same. The titled room performs, the room of substance just exists. And the room of substance is the one the memory persists. And I don't manufacture presence. Presence is a consequence of everything I've carried and the discipline in the years since. Gravity is not a performance. It is what you actually are. You cannot fake the pull. You either have the weight or you don't go far. They wanted me to enter with the posture of the assured, but the language of authority and the tone of the secured. But the men who enter loudly are the men most insecure. The performance is the gap between the image and the floor. Real authority is quiet, the way the ground is quiet beneath you. You don't notice it until it's gone and then it reaches through. And I have learned to let my presence speak before my words arrive, to let the room adjust to me, and only then to rise. Because the man who enters a room already changed by being there, has something that no suit, no title, and no podium can wear. Something earned across the years and the only currency that lasts. Integrity repeated, forward facing, in the accounting of the past. And I don't manufacture presence. Presence is a consequence of everything I've carried and the discipline and the years since. Gravity is not a performance. It is what you actually are. You cannot fake the pull. You either have the weight or you don't go far. The room always knows before you speak, before you move. The room has already taken the measure of what you are, not of what you say you are, of what you are. Either wait, the rest is just sound. Now I enter rooms with less intention than I used to carry. Less preparation, less performance, less of what was necessary. When I needed the room to meet me at the level I had claimed. Before I was the level, before the level had my name. And the difference is so quiet, most would never mark the change. The same man, the same room, just a different kind of range. The weight is in the foundation now, not in the presentation. The authority is in the living, not in any demonstration. So let the room observe and draw whatever conclusions rooms will draw. Let the performance-minded wonder at what they never saw. What I carry has no stage. What I am needs no review.
Gravity just is, and I am passing through. Gravity is not a performance. It is what you actually are. You cannot fake the pull. You either have the weight or you don't go far. Don't go far. Don't go far. Be the weight, be the pull, or you don't go far. Before the noise of other people's urgency begins its claim, before the day has loaded all its cargo in its aim, there is a window narrow as a blade and cold as stone. The window where the man decides who he is alone. Not who he was yesterday, not who the calendar expects, but who he chooses this specific morning to protect. Because the self is not a fixed and settled permanent thing. It is a daily renovation, a choice the morning brings. And I've learned to meet that window with a kind of reverence. Not spiritual, practical, the covenant of perseverance. To show up at the empty hour and fill it with intent. To answer what the morning asks before the morning spent. And I don't wait for the feeling or the motivation to arrive. The showing up before the feeling is precisely how I stay alive. What morning asks is simple and it asks it every day. Are you the man you said you were? Or did you let him slip away? There are mornings that arrive with nothing generous to offer. The gray and heavy kind that press you back against the coffer. That whisper every reason why the effort isn't worth the cost. Why the version of yourself you're building might already be lost. I have had those mornings more than any comfortable account. I've stood inside the doubt of them and felt the full amount. And what I found at the bottom of the worst of what they give is still the same question, still the same imperative to live. So I answered it the way I've always answered, with the doing, not with the feeling, not with the believing or the pursuing. Just the movement, just the showing, just the keeping of the word I gave myself in private, whether anyone has heard. And I don't wait for the feeling or the motivation to arrive. The showing up before the feeling is precisely how I stay alive. What morning asks is simple and it asks it every day. Are you the man you said you were? Or did you let him slip away? Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes on its own schedule. Discipline is a resident. It lives there whether it wants to or not. Build the resident. Let the visitor arrive when it arrives. Don't build your life around a visitor. Now the mornings feel less like a test and more like an old friend. The kind that shows up early and stays useful till the end. Who doesn't flatter and doesn't ease the edge of what is real. Who just stands beside you in the cold and asks you how you feel. And how I feel is secondary to the what I do with feeling. The answer to the morning is the going, not the kneeling. Not
Not the asking to be spared the weight the morning always brings, but the taking of the weight and moving forward into things. Because the man I am at noon was built at 6 in the dark. The man I'll be at evening was determined at the start. And what the morning asked of me, I answer with the same reply. Not ready, not perfect, moving anyway. That's the only why. What morning asks is simple, and it asks it every day. Are you the man you said you were? Or did you let him slip away? Did you let him slip away? Did you let him go? Sharp answer every morning. That's all you need to know. Beneath every man worth standing near, there is a floor unseen, a foundation laid in darkness, years before the in-between. The years that look like failure from the outside of his life. The years of the construction hidden under all the strife. Nobody watches a foundation being poured. Nobody applauds the gravel, the level, or the board. The ceremony comes later, at the ribbon and the height. But the building stood or didn't based on what they poured at night. I am that foundation. I have been the poured concrete. I have been the unseen level and the unremarked on feet of every version of myself that stands in any room, built below the surface, in the cold and in the gloom. And I don't need the surface to remember what it stands on. I know what I am made of, and I know what I have planned on. Stone beneath the water holds the rivers, hold direction. The man beneath his surface holds himself, and that is the foundation. They see what stands above the line and name it as the whole. They see the posture and the output, but they haven't seen the soul. The part that was refined across the years no one was watching. The part that was constructed in the seasons of the botching. Every failure was a layer, every loss was a pour. Every morning that I rose and went regardless was the floor. And the man who stands here now is standing on a depth that every year of honest living and of honest breath. So when they look and see the confidence or the ease, know the ease was earned below by decades of degrees. Not taken, not inherited, not given as a gift. Built in the invisible and brought up through the rift. And I don't need the surface to remember what it stands on. I know what I am made of, and I know what I have planned on. Stone beneath the water holds the rivers, hold direction. The man beneath his surface holds himself, and that is the foundation. The visible man is the smaller part of the story. The larger part was built in the years that nobody photographed, in the rooms that nobody visited, in the mornings that nobody counted. That is the stone, that is the real, that is what holds. Now the foundation
foundation is so settled, I no longer feel its weight. It has become the floor of everything, the early and the late. The confidence I carry is not performance over pose. It is the knowledge of the stone, and no one ever knows that I have been through what I've been through. And I'm standing that every year of discipline was its own command, and that the man who knows his foundation doesn't worry about the weather, because the stone beneath the water holds the current all together. So let the surface shift the way our surfaces will shift. Let the current move and pull and carry what it will drift. I am the stone beneath it, settled cold and in my place, and nothing that moves above me will disturb this ground I've placed. Stone beneath the water holds the river's whole direction. Man beneath his surface holds himself, and that is the foundation. That is the foundation. That is the foundation. Stone beneath the water never makes a sound. Short words fall like measured stone, nothing wasted here. Air grows heavy in the pause, clarity is clear. Volume does not equal weight, noise is often thrown. Power rests in discipline of what is never shown. No excess, no show, sharp edge, low tone. Less said, more known. Less said, more known. Presence fills the size. Less said, more known. Conversation circle wide, looking for effect. Authority requires no chase, only self-respect. Eyes reveal what speech avoids, calm but fully grown. Depth is felt immediately, less said, more known. Still frame, slow breath, words spare depth. Less said, more known. Less said, more known. Certainty unspoken. Less said, more known. History forgets the loud, remembers what was real. Measured tone and steady pace, carry quiet steel. When departure leaves a shift in rooms once overthrown, nothing added, nothing forced. Less said, more known. Less said, more known. Less said, more known. Power without performance. Less said,